everyone. It's Nea Clare, and I am here to spend some time with you talking about channeling. So, my name is Nea Clare. I am a channel, and I'm also an activation coach. For those of you who don't know me, welcome. Welcome to my page. I'm glad you're here. And for those of you that do, I truly am excited that we get to have this conversation today because I think it's time, right? I've had this conversation a few times before with people, and I think times are changing. Hello, I'm glad you're on. Hi, Tana. If you're on, say hi. I will say hi as best I can today. Hello, Gail. But I think many people are beginning to open up to their gifts, are starting to channel, are wanting some information about what that is. And it's whether it's channeling the way that I do or whether it's in a different way, to be honest, it really it really doesn't matter. We are opening. And when we're opening, we are having experiences that we didn't have before. And how do we acclimate to that? How do we learn about it? So I thought it might just be really fun to have a good, candid, real conversation about my experience. And I will only speak from my experience. Um, about what channeling is and what I've been doing and how I work with spirit. And this is time today for you to ask questions, for you to engage however you want. I will be reading questions from the comments. I'm going to go ahead. I think I created a banner. Of course, I did not save it. So hang on one second if you guys can hold up. But if you have questions, you can post them. If there's something you're just dying to know, I will definitely be down for answering anything. There's really nothing off the table, including, is this even for real? Glad to have that conversation. Um, Hang on one second. Thank you all for your patience. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in. There you go. So we know why we're here in case anybody comes in a little bit later. So again, my name is Nea Clare. Hello. I think I know most of you, but if you're jumping on, just know I try to be an open book because this this experience has been interesting for me as well. So I'm a channel. I work with spirit, and I will just start out by talking about what channeling is on how I work with spirit. And if you have questions, just pop them in. I will take them as we go. And I have some questions people have already sent me. So I've got things to share with you. So, channeling is interesting, right? So in many ways, we're all channels. So not to dismiss what I do and not to diminish what you do or what anyone else does, but channeling is a way of receiving information that there are different ways that we receive information. I'm not going to go into the clairs because that's not my like clair audience deciphering all that. That's not my specialty. I won't go into all of that. But what I will say is for me, channeling is allowing spirit to come into my physical body and animate my vocal cords, to utilize my vocal cords and my physical body to express, to create a physical presence and an experience with that said spirit. There are different ways of doing this. Some work with some mediums also channel. Mediums tend to work with those entities who've passed, who have had recent lifetimes who've passed, and they receive, if they are channeling, they may allow that spirit to embody and speak through them. And sometimes they simply hear it. Sometimes there's an affect that spirit can have. I don't work with um, people's loved ones very often. The most that I typically receive is an affect. And of course, words along with that, where there may be an affect where I'm noticing, for example, if somebody had a twitch or like a limp or like a way that they held their body, I might experience that, but I'm not embodying that that entity. And I'll get to that in a minute. So so for me, what I do is I work with ascended masters, archangels, teachers, as well as a collective. More recently, over the last couple of years, I work with a collective consciousness that have given they have given themselves the name the harmonic alignment in oneness, or how, the how, which is delightful. It's really, they're wonderful. And so I've been doing this actively for 8 years, and I will say I've been working with spirit and receiving messages my whole life. I can see that now. I did not know or understand that that was what was happening, because for me, the way that I experience channeling is almost seamless to my current experience. It's like the equivalent of a breeze blowing through a screen door, having spirit enter my body, or my thoughts, or my energy field, very easy. And that has always been true. There have been times in my life, looking back, I can go, "Oh yes, 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 yes." I definitely knew things I shouldn't know. I spoke things that were not mine to speak, uh, and and I always just kind of thought that I was a little precarious. Like I knew, not precarious, but precocious. I knew things I shouldn't know, right? Um, but it's always been good. My experience with it has always been extremely positive. So, um, and I'll get into a little bit more here, but I just want to check. Okay. How do you discern channeling from claircognizance or my own thinking? So, very good question. Um, when I started, what I will say, when I started doing this work, I didn't really know, because it's very seamless for me what is mine and what isn't mine. Because it would just, things would come out of my mouth that I really had no business knowing. I was aware that I really didn't know, but I also, it was so fluid. It was so easy that there wasn't really time to question it. So when I also didn't speak as much. For anyone who knows me, me not speaking is kind of funny, but I really didn't speak much. Um, I would have information flowing through me that I would second guess. I second guessed myself a lot in my lifetime. In Up until I started doing Reiki, I really was paralyzed. My throat chakra, my heart chakra, very paralyzed by the fear of being wrong, by the fear of um, saying something crazy. And I'm sure that came up from different times in my life where I did say things and people were like, "Where'd you get that? And how do you know that?" And being accused of things, as well as perhaps past lives, but we won't get into that today. So today, what I've learned is there's there's definitely a how would I put this? It's not like a different voice. There's not like this voice over here that sounds like that. That's not. It's not clear audience where I'm hearing audio. Like, I'm not hearing it outside of me or even in my head. It's literally seamless. It's like it's integrated. And the way I know it's not mine most of the time is that I'm also like, my awareness is like this. That's interesting. Like, huh, I don't know where that would have come from. I never would have put that together. it's a lot of like shock on my system to be like, wow, whoa, huh. And I've gotten used to it. I've gotten used to it to not be so shocked by what comes through. Um, but it's not of my own experience most of the time, of my life experience now. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining. Again, you can post your questions. I'm talking about what channeling is. So I'm answering Angeline's question. So that is really it. It's really an awareness that's not of me, and being okay with that. Um, and I, over time, I think just by being in practice of doing this, finding the willingness to do it in spite of my own doubts, my own fears, my own uncertainties, which I will tell you is very much a part of the work that I do all the time, is checking myself, checking, is this me? Do I have an agenda? Do I need to look good? Do I need you to like me? All of my quirks come up in this work, and I can, and my awareness of that and my willingness to do it anyway, my willingness to show up and do the work is transformative for me, and it has allowed me to increase my faith in in what the experience is, that I do have access to information that Nia does not have access to, but that it's greater than me, and it is something that I am working in collaboration with spirit, with this consciousness. So I hope that makes sense. I'm just seeing, Brianna, you said when you first started verbally channeling, how did it come out? Did they say who they were? I Yes. When I first started, oh, this is such a good question, because you know what? For most of you, I don't think any of you who are on the call, and if you don't know me, I don't think most of you knew me back when I started. But when I started, I was in a group and I was channeling everyone. Like I was like, I the way I look at it is, it was like a revolving door. And part of it is I knew I was supposed to create this, right, to do this work, but I didn't ever think like, well, how do I want to do it? Or what's going to work for me? Or how should this work? I just did it, which is kind of how I live life, which might be why I'm a good channel. I don't know. But I just kind of tend to jump in the deep end of the pool and learn to swim while I'm flailing around, right? Confident that I will get it eventually. But I was there, and I still remember, I have pictures of this event because it was so neat. It was a large event. It was in Circle Pines, Minnesota. I remember where we were, and the hang on, I just lost something. So um, and the group, I was channeling all of their guides, like, and I was so excited. Imagine 20 people. I think there were like 24 people in the room, and I channeled everyone's guides. So I was like a revolving door all night, right? And I was so exhausted. And the experiences were like, it took so much energy to make this happen. And I just remember thinking, I don't know. I don't know if I like this. And the second time I did it, I actually had someone's guide come through, and they were like unhappy with my vessel, with my body. They're like, this is so small, which it was complimentary. But, this is such a small body. And they were so focused on that, the person really didn't get their reading. So it just, like, I didn't know what I could do. And so they've always introduced themselves. I did all from the gate set from the outset, set the intention that only people's highest good. So only those who are in service for the people who show in their highest good, in your highest good, show up. But it was funny. And what I didn't know is I had the ability to decide. I have the ability to decide who I channel, right? And what I want to do and how I want to do it. So it was so funny. So I love the fact that you asked this question. Brianna, because the way I describe it, so I don't channel people's guides anymore. I'll listen to them. I will receive information from them, including your loved ones. I very rarely channel somebody's loved one who is recently passed. I'm going to explain it this way: is that I love the idea of a screen door because I'm kind of, I'm moving in and out of this vessel, right? So it's got to be fluid, right? Imagine, like, you guys know government cheese, like Velveeta, that kind of cheese. Imagine trying to push that through a screen door. That's what it's like to have your guides come into this body. It takes a lot of energy because their energy, it's not that they're low vibration. It's just they're more dense than angelic beings, than the ascended masters. The ascended masters are so expanded, right? And their consciousness is so expanded that multiple people around the planet are channeling simultaneously the same entity, the same consciousness, right? So that's like a breeze going through a screen door. So when you have your guide coming, I was just like, no, I'm not doing this. So they do say who they are. It took me a while to trust and to listen, um, to really trust. And because there are those who I didn't feel worthy to channel. I'm going to be honest, I didn't. I felt like, who am I, and why are you showing up? And not realizing that it wasn't about me, right? It was that there was service to be done, and I was the conduit through which that service could happen. And so it has been, again, an unfolding of the ego, an unfolding of the doubt, the fear, the worry, to be willing to be an open vessel. And this is not a well, I will put it this way: I don't take this service lightly. Um, there's a I'm going to sound like a comic book. I'm going to sound like Aunt May or Uncle whatever his name is in Spider-Man. My son would kill me that I don't remember who this is, the name. But anyway, that um, with great power comes great responsibility. With great service also comes great responsibility. And there's an undoing in it. And it's in the undoing of it that I found a greater willingness to do it. And so, um, if you're experiencing this and you're feeling like all these edges of it, like, I don't know what to do, that's okay. That's okay. It's there. Like, if I could write a book for you and say, first you're going to do this, and then you're going to do this, and then you're going to do this, that'd be so great, right? But there's an experience with channeling that comes into really listening to yourself, because as Angeline's question, which is so powerful, right? About how do you know who you are in this? How do you know? Well, you have to come to know yourself, and part of coming to know yourself is also in understanding, in coming into relationship and faith with who and what you're working with, right? It's very powerful. It's very powerful stuff, and it's transformational, um, in the service and in the action and in the practice. So if you're finding yourself getting called to this, well, I can't say A to B, B to C, C to D. I can definitely say, here's some of the things to support you. And do you have support? I've had support throughout, by teachers, not people who necessarily even channel, but people who were willing to stand with me and guide me and show me what to look for, what I might be saying to myself and needing to hear from myself, because we can't bear witness to ourselves. So it's powerful work. Powerful work. I hope that was a long answer to that question, but you all know that's how I work. So Brianna, you said when channeling, do you ever feel like your consciousness is near your body like an observer? Absolutely, especially when I started. Um, I needed it to be. Because again, I didn't trust that was going to be. Um, I didn't trust that um, my body was going to be okay. And I didn't know these beings. I could feel the energy of them. But again, was I imagining that I was feeling it? I still have moments where I'm like, I don't know what the heck is going on. But over the years of doing this, I've developed greater faith in myself, in what I know, to the point where it's unshakable. It's unshakable what I know about who I am and what it is I create for space, what it is I create with my clients, what I create with spirit. Um, it's unshakable. Even in those moments that I am shaken. And there have been moments where I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what is going on? How did I get here? How did this conversation happen? Why did that not go the way it should have gone? Or why did this?" I There are things happening that are beyond my knowing, and I have to be able to trust. I have to be able to do that. So, yes, I felt there were times where I needed to be close. Um, as an observer, and also as like I may need to interrupt or interfere here. Um, and at the same time, observe someone speaking through you, and you can still feel it in your vocal cords. Um, I don't really experience it that way because when I'm out of my physical body, I have no care for my physical body. Like I'm not, a, I don't, I don't pay attention to it. I'm mostly experiencing everything in a very energetic way. Um, so when I am close or when I am brought back, sometimes I'm brought back by everyone in the room, like if I'm doing, or by my client when I'm working with them, that I need to be a part of something. So I'm coming back. I don't necessarily re-enter my physical body, but I'm holding space, or I'm present with my wisdom because I'm a part of this. I'm not just a body. I actually have wisdom that I carried not just from those that have inhabited me, but my life experience and my connection with all of you and my physicality and my life experience in this now world, in this 3D experience. I bring that these entities can't bring. So we are merging in that and working. And so there are times where energetically I'm working to hold a space or to provide um, the interpretation. Sometimes it's language interpretation. Um, because what is meant in our language has changed, right? And our language here and now, and this expression, we often, I'll just say this, you guys, how many of you say things and you kind of do um the the catchphrase, but you really don't have any meaning behind it? Like, how are you doing today? Fine. What does that mean? Right? It's like little things. Well, we just things we just say that don't translate well with spirit. Like, so how do they bridge that lack of meaning in the languaging? So sometimes I'm helping with that. Does that help, Brianna? Did that answer your question? So I don't really see them speaking through me. As a matter of fact, I don't see them. I feel them, and I am them, and they are me, and it's a merged experience. There is no they and me, it is we in this work. It hasn't always been that way, but that is how it is now. Um, and I can't tell you exactly when that changed, but it has been a continual surrender and a willingness. Um, and as a matter of fact, my whole perspective on the labeling or the needing to understand they is in and of itself limiting. So I do my best to um, s- be more fluid in how I speak and engage. Right. Um, Aaron, do you have good family support to embrace a gift like this? Many of us don't experience that, which allows us to embrace our gifts at a later date. Yeah, so that's a really good question. And what I'll say is I agree that most of us don't have what we would call familial support, right? And yet what I would say is most of you and have found support, but there's that piece. It's like this emptiness of wanting that support, the support to carry you through the action. I have always had some level of support, uh, but not like everything was good in my world. Like, oh, you want to read tarot cards? Read tarot cards. Sure. You want to use a Ouija board when you're 12? Sure. Yeah, I know. Really. So you want to talk with spirits? Sure. Like everything was up for grabs. And yet, um, there are limitations, right? Because my parents were a bit hands off in that regard, and yet they provided me with lots of resources. Like when I the last week or so, I've been spending a lot of time kind of doing some work clearing and realigning. I don't know, not realigning, aligning. Realigning implies that I was aligned before. I'm not sure that I was, but aligning to um, truth of me versus the story that I've told and the story that's been told of me, to me, by me, for me, all of that, which we all work through, right? Um, and one of the things I was realizing is I have always had information available to me about spirituality beyond religion. There have always been spirits and ghosts and healing and practices that were out of the norm of most kids growing up in the 70s and 80s. I had access to more adult support and more engagement with um, at the time what I would call expanded consciousness thinkers than most 14, 15, 16-year olds. And yet it really didn't help me because my deep desire at 14, 15, 16 was to be normal because my mom was weird, right? And all of her friends were a little weird. And it made me uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable to be weird. Like it was cool in a moment or for a party or for like a conversation. But beyond that, like I was longing for normalcy. So it wasn't that I didn't have support. I had support, but the thing that needed support for me was to feel like I was going to be okay and that in spite of everything that I was going to, that it would be okay. And that really couldn't be fulfilled by anyone except me choosing that. And I spent most of my adult life looking, whether it was through work or through friendships, I was always missing the thing I wanted. And whenever I'd get the thing that I thought I wanted, I realized, well, that probably wasn't it because I'm still feeling empty. And so I was always looking externally to fill that up. And so I'm going on and on about this, Erin, because I think that what we want is to know that we're going to be okay. But the only way to know that we're going to be okay and doing and stepping forward into what we love to do and to even explore if we love doing it is to do it and to take the risk that maybe we won't have that support, right? Because we won't know. You won't know until you do it what you really want. I didn't know, and when I told my husband, I still remember, I'm like, "I think I'm channeling now," and he's like, "What's that?" And I said, "Well, let me tell you, my mom channeled when she took classes with a woman I'm in connection with. She's amazing. She's been channeling forever, like long time. My mom took a class when I was about 13 years old, and I still remember I was in the living room. I'm watching TV. I'm on the floor because my mom liked having the TV on the floor. My brother was down by me. I'm 13, waiting for my friends to pick me up to go to a party. Maybe I was 14. I don't know. It's right around then. And I'm watching um, TV, and all of a sudden, this male Scottish brogue, so loud, so deep, introduces himself as Patrick. And my head didn't flip around fast. I'm like, "What is that?" And he requested whiskey. And of course, who's not going to go and get your mom whiskey? Because my mom didn't drink, right? So yeah, I'm going to get her some whiskey and see where this goes. It was amazing to me. And never once did I go, "This is scary. This is evil. This is," and part of that is because I trusted my mom. I trusted that in spite of all of her curiosity and what she was doing, that she would never put my brother and I in harm's way, right? I knew that. I knew that. And I felt very safe. And I actually felt so excited because who wouldn't? And so, of course, you're asking all these questions like about this boy and that boy. And, oh, what should I do, Patrick? So, and I just remember being, you know, really enamored, and she started to channel more, and she started to step into her gifts in that, and then after a bit of time shut it down because she was terrified. She grew up Catholic. This was maybe working with the devil. It was, a gateway. It was all sorts of things. And during that time she had so many experiences that she shared with me. And all these people that I knew, all these people that I were, you know, smart, intelligent people experiencing things that somewhere in my brain I went, yeah, okay, that's possible. That feels real. That feels right. And and I knew things. I started doing tarot readings without needing tarot cards. I made money in college doing tarot readings, right? And it was so fun. And then I just decided somewhere in my mid-20s that, it's time to buckle down and get yourself straight and, kind of go in that direction and be businessy and be corporate and be legit, because this is not a way to make a living. It's not a way to do your work. It's not really about that. And it's kind of like my husband. When I met him, he graduated with a fine arts degree, right? And he's like, "Oh, I remember we had our first conversation was about him coming back from Madison, where he was looking to get into going to his master's." And I'm like, "Why do you need to do that?" And he's like, "Oh, because, to be an artist and to be legit and to make money, you kind of have to go this route. Probably have to teach. I probably have to do this." And I was like, being working with your gifts, no matter what it is, always feels kind of like a starving artist. Like, to work with your gifts does not always guarantee an income, and probably doesn't really lead you to that. And that was kind of the mentality I had, but it never left me. Like, I always knew things. I always knew things. I was always about 3 years out in all the work that I ever did. All the work that I ever did. So I work in compliance, or I'd work in training, and I'd say, I think we need to pay attention to this. No, 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 this isn't important. 3 years later, it becomes the issue, right? I had to learn to let go of what I know, let go of what I knew was true, let go of what I could feel was emerging, in order to get by in a consciousness that was not there yet, was not ready. But that prepped me for for being willing to step into what I do and to have faith. I could talk about that for 400 years. Pamela, is automatic writing similar? Um, it can be. Um, so so what I will say is we are always in connection, right? Whether we are paying attention to it or not. Automatic writing allows us to be in connection. And sometimes we feel like we're in connection with, if you're a medium, you're in connection with someone who's passed, right? So you might be using automatic writing or doodling or just a system that you've created to communicate, because what this does, what writing does, what putting things on paper can do is it can busy your mental body so that you can receive more readily. So you're kind of occupying the logical part of your mind with the writing, that it allows the information to flow through. The same is true of mediums who receive information that way. If you are receiving messages from other, like, check in. What is the other that I'm receiving messages from? Is it your highest knowing? It might be. That might be. It's so much easier to call that them than it is to say that's me. I actually know more than I uh, allow myself to know. So are you accessing that? That's a form of opening your channel, right? You're opening to your highest knowing. So automatic writing is a great tool for that. So is Pendulum. The one thing I will say, and so is tarot cards, and so are, like, all the tools. All the tools are good for this. The question is, is the tool, and is the need for information becoming kind of a dependency where you stop knowing within you, like where you are dependent on other to affirm you. That's where it's really important. So these are the questions to be asking as you're developing in your own wisdom and own knowing. Do I need X to know what I know? Right? So are you using it that way? Or are you a thoroughfare for information flowing through? Two different things, similar constructs. Does that Hopefully that makes sense. Ask me more questions about that if that did not make sense, because I kind of merged and then pulled apart two things. All right. I had a moment a couple of months ago when I was talking on the phone with a friend. I told her something, but I felt like I was in a trance, and when I said it, like, the words weren't coming from me, but a message being relayed through me. I even apologized and said, "I'm so sorry. I don't know where that came from." It was a bit jarring, and I brushed it off as a sleep issue, but I occasionally wonder if it was something else. I have so much desire to learn. I love that. And so, um, couple of things. And I'm going to be really candid here, because we had, like, did you know? Sorry, it's bugging me that my necklace is, like, all wonky. I don't mean to keep messing with that. Um, I will say this, is that we the they told me, um, they are directing me, they are speaking through me, can be true. So I'm not taking that away, but it's also a way of deferring what we do know. And sometimes we do say things that we do mean, that we do know, and maybe we realize, like, maybe I shouldn't have said it. And so it's much easier to defer it. So I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying this because that's that's that edgy piece that comes with practicing, that we get a chance to sit in and go, did I know that is there a part of me that knows this to be true? And it needed to be said. Okay. Is there a part of me that is allowing other to use me? And do I feel comfortable with that? Right? Do you feel comfortable with that? And you can be clear in your intention and say, you need to introduce yourself before you work through me. And what you're doing is you're giving a little bit of a a gateway where you always get to be at choice. Right? So now you're noticing, oh, I have an open gate. And right now things are coming through, which is fine. I'm not saying put up a barrier, right? I don't think about that, but you can say, in order to get through the gate, in order to come through, what I ask is that you introduce yourself. Please respect me. Please respect the conversation. Please allow me to know what you want to say. And my question to you, entity, my question to you, they, my question to you, spirit, is this in their highest and best good? And am I the right person to deliver this message? Those are all really important conversations, because just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And that's like one of those little phrases that guides me. Just because I can, just because I know something doesn't mean it's mine to share. Just because I receive insight doesn't mean that I have an obligation, nor do I have um, the right always to share it. So I'll ask, for example, in this case, as now that you're aware of it, right? Now that you're aware of this experience, you can go, I feel like I'm getting a message. Are you open to hearing it? Right? And now you can create that pause because they've now introduced themselves to you. They've now said, I've got something that needs to be said. I'm her guide. I am her grandmother. I am whomever. Now you know who you're working with. And now you can go, is this for her highest and best good? Yes, this is important. And now you can say, I am glad to be the messenger, but I'm going to ask if she wants the message, or he. Does that make sense, everybody? Because that piece is so important. Like, are they open to it? If they're not open and ready for it, it can be jarring. It can be jarring, especially if that's not something you've done before, especially if that's not who you've been with them before. So we're learning like rules of engagement. And so it's not so much how do I do what I do, it's how do I do what I do without causing harm, with honoring myself, with knowing who and what I'm working with. All of that is amazing, and it's all at your disposal if that's what you're doing. And I can only say that through practicing, right? I've been practicing this. I've done all of the wrong things, so I know how to maybe take a different approach, right? Let's see, Pam, you say yes. Let's see, Penny, you said the message wasn't negative, but it was a bit forward and basically validated what she was wondering. So it was good, right? But you didn't feel comfortable in how it was presented, or that you were being used potentially, right? So it's not really about the message. Do you see that? Like, it's not about the message or whether it was good or bad or right or wrong. It's about, how do I want to be in this so that I don't have to apologize, right? How do I navigate something that where I know how I want to engage with this person. So we get to do that. And as a channel, um, learning, like, you get to choose who you want to work with. And you also get to choose what kind of work you want to do. But at first, play, like, go and look and feel what it feels like and see what it's like, because I will tell you, what I didn't enjoy, other people would have loved. They would have been like, yeah, bring on the guides. This is where this jazzes me. I love it. That's wonderful. Channel people's guides. Hallelujah. Do you know how many people come to me wanting to know their guides and would love to have a face-to-face conversation with them? I'd refer you, right? This is what is available. It's so, so important, right? But but what we do is we shut ourselves down because we think we have to be like them, or we have to be like this, we have to do that. So we get to play in it and be willing to make mistakes and be awkward and have the weird thing come out and not feel comfortable about it. Lord knows I've had that. I can't even tell you how many times. I can't even tell you the number of times where somebody, like, when I first started doing one-on-ones with people, they'd ask me, questions about their health. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not a doctor. Oh my God, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. What if I'm wrong? What if I'm right? Oh my God, please don't let it be cancer. Don't let it be cancer. Look, I just feel like doing that. I don't want to deliver that message, right? And so I had to work with myself to go, okay, highest and best good. I can only share what comes. And I don't need to be right. I have no need to be right. As a matter of fact, I'm okay being wrong, right? It's okay. And when I did that, it was like, okay, I don't need to push an agenda. My job isn't to push my rightness. My job is to be a vehicle to provide clarity. And clarity isn't for me. It's to provide for my client. Like, things are clear. I have more information. I have nuances that weren't available to me. Now I have the ability to see, act, or do what I need to do next, which is where the activation coach part comes into what I do. So I hope that makes sense. I love that. I always ask. That's good, Erin. And to ask boldly, to be confident in who you are, and that'll come more over time too. Because now I'll just be like, hey, I've been in the grocery store and like, I'm not a medium, but on occasion, somebody's loved one is like knocking at my door, going, can you just let them know everything's okay? I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm in the grocery store. So I'm having a Long Island medium moment, right? I'm like, okay, hi, my name's Nea. I work with spirit. I hear things sometimes, I get information. And are you open to a message from your dad? My dad passed away. You can talk to him? I'm like, "Yeah, he's right here. Are you open to getting a message from him?" "Yeah." "Okay." Or, "No." "Who are you?" I totally understand. Thank you. I had to ask. He's asking me to ask. He saw somebody who could see him, so that's what I'm doing. There we go. Enough, right? We only can do what we're willing to do. Um So, Penny, you say, I'm working on establishing boundaries in all aspects of my life. Good. And I think, I'm not one, I look at boundaries really about intention. I focus very much on energy and intention. Um, However it's working for you, use it. Be clear about what you want because we're more clear about what we don't want. And what we don't want is what we're putting our attention and focus on, right? So we say, I don't want that. Well, we're putting energy on that and we get more of it because the answer from the universe is always yes. So whatever we're putting our attention on, that's what we're getting. So instead, what I would say is, what is it you do want? And put your energy on that and just really, really nurse that. That's as much as an energetic field as pushing. And being a magnet is as much energy and bringing to us what we want as pushing out, right? So think about that. What are you drawing in? Really, really important. Brianna, do you feel that when you channel in normal interactions that the words are more assertive? They used to be, but that was a different level of entity that I was working with. There are a lot of guides and spirits who are much more directive. I don't have a tendency to work with them as much anymore. And part of it is just maybe it's preference or maybe it's how I'm operating. I have a tendency to uh, be more um, inviting and gentle in how I work um, with people and because um, and maybe it's the shift in the divine masculine to the divine feminine, right? There's a lot of changing as you're all experiencing in our language, in our consciousness, and how we're responding. And we still, many of us, defer to being told or directed, and looking for outside validation and outside affirmation, outside direction for our lives. And that is a very hierarchical, um, uh, out of alignment male energy, right? Kind of just over indexed. Like, I need permission. I need to be empowered. Empowered means that that power is bestowed to me, right? To be empowered means someone or something is giving that power to me. It is not inherent in who I am. Um, Whereas the divine feminine is to come into the awareness of your power, into the awareness of your knowing, your inherent good, your inherent wholeness. And so here's what I would say is, be where you are, because where you the work that we're doing is guiding our development too. It's not just outward, it's inward. So a lot of us want to, there's a phrase in 12 step, don't get too, I'm going to bastardize it because I think I always get the day wrong, but don't get too good by Thursday, right? Which is kind of the way of saying, like, don't try to push the river, don't try to reach and achieve something that you are not there yet. And I'm not saying that about you, Brianna, but I'm saying this in that, like, if you are getting more assertive or directive responses as you are working with spirit, as you are receiving messages, be with that and say, "Oh, what in me is still needing that?" And in the work, we are undone and opened to something greater, right? So be where you are, honor where you are. Where you are is divinely perfect, or you wouldn't be there, right? And we just have a tendency to go, "Oh, no, no, I'm not doing it right. I'm not the best I can be." All these things, and it's a way of shaming and diminishing the truth of our now moment, the truth of our now experience, which is to be out of alignment. As a matter of fact, this morning I was meditating and the word sin came up. And to not honor who we are as divine beings is sinful, right? Sinful meaning missing the mark. And it's not like one mark, it's missing, it's that alignment. And so be where we are. And if that's where you're getting, pay attention, because the way that we work, the masters that I worked with when I started are not the masters I'm working with now. Um, and it has changed. And it's not that I never work with them. It's not like, "Oh, I'm done with that. I've mastered modules 4, 5, and 8 or whatever." It's like literally, it's like I'm moving through a learning experience, and the learning experience is what this vessel needs to be more open, to be more willing, to be transformed. Make sense? So all of us who are, if there's one lesson to take from what I'm talking about today, it's that there is more than enough, and where you are in your experience and all of this is divine and perfect. But how do you trust that, and how do you build on that? That's one of the things in the workshop that I'm doing right now, called Open Your Channel. It's not how to be a channel, because most of you are already working in some way with spirit. It's how do I honor who I am and what my experience is right now, the nervousness, the unsettledness, the fear, the doubt, the word, all, and the just navigating. Love it, because you can only be new at this once. You only get to be new at this once, just like you only get to start a relationship once, right? You fall in love and you go, "Oh, my pitter patter heart and the sweaty palms." You too will have a great story to tell, just like I was talking about, me channeling this entity who thought my body was too small, which was great. I love that. I am not kidding, right? But that experience is yours to have. Like, you're going to have your own experience of starting, of being new, of being open and learning and making mistakes and floundering and doubting. My gosh, every time I used to go to my group channeling, seriously, I'd be driving, I'm like, "Please show up. Please show up tonight." What if they don't show up? They might not show up. What if I'm not channeling anybody? What if I'm just sitting there? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. What would I do? What would I do? What would I do? What would I do? What if What if I'm there and it's just quiet? What if it's just crickets? Like years of that, years of that. And still to have the willingness to do it because I knew that it was in alignment with what I'm doing. So we'll go a couple more minutes here. Dawn, do you often get very short little answers? Sometimes they're short, sometimes they're not. Sometimes like I hear things sometimes and it's not like I hear it through my ears, it's like in my being. That's a weird way of saying. Sometimes I'm literally taken on a journey and seeing and experiencing things in a new way. Like I will feel things in my that are physical. I will sense things. I will smell. Like everything is taken over. Like I am receiving it in multiple levels. So when I have a one-on-one session with you, Don, like if you were talking to me, for example, about you know, uh, sometimes it's health or sometimes it's about like your child or I literally will be overcome with an experience and I've learned to just talk through the experience with you and say this is what I oh yeah that's totally it where there are no words or there's no like phraseology that would sum it up that that is important. So it's important for me to talk about the full experience of it with my clients. So I receive information in numerous ways, numerous ways. As a matter of fact, I was just working with someone the other day who called me out of the blue. She's like, I'm not feeling well. I'm having this experience. And she's talking about a very physical experience. She was sick to her stomach. She was throwing up and she had just had some work done. She's like, I feel like something's stuck. And I'm like energetic and I'm in her body. And all of a sudden I'm like feeling this pressure moving up, right? And I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, okay, what am I butting up against? And then I became the thing. And what I was butting up against, I could feel that. And it was more of a story than it was energy. And so it's like curiosity helps me and learning to trust my curiosity more than I trust the need to be right. That how is that for a lesson? You can only learn that by doing. You can only learn that by doing. Honey, are you channeling the answers and information you're sharing now? This dialogue is great. I'm speaking totally from my full experience and trusting where it's going. No, it feels like this is all Nia. It feels like this is all Nia, but it comes from the years of doing this and the deep devotional love I have for all of you who are asking and wanting to know because the answers are in, right? Are here in each of you and it's learning to develop that trust. And like I said, I wish there was like here's Nia's 5-step process to inner wisdom. It doesn't really work like that. Um, but I can tell you that, and I say this often, if you find that the decisions you're making, the direction you're being led to go makes you kind of want to throw up in your mouth, makes you uneasy, makes your stomach clench, makes you go, I don't think I can do this. You're heading in the right direction. You are heading in the right direction. And don't expect that you can get there on your own. I'm not saying you need to work with me, right? I'm glad to work with all of you. I love being able to support people. I love being able to champion you. I love being able to see what is emerging, being able to see this and hold space for that when you are in the doubt. I have people doing that for me, right? I need it. I need somebody who can say, Nia, just hang in there. Like this, you're moving through this. And what's on the other side, I can already feel it. I know you can too because it's calling you up, it's calling you into it, right? So it's not, it's, we, it's hard to do on our own. It's hard to do on our own. We need community, we need willingness, and we need somebody who is there and rooting for us. And so that's why I'm going to be doing more of these kind of works, more classes, more support that help you explore, help you develop the willingness to have a practice with yourself because you're amazing. Every one of you is amazing and brilliant and beautiful. And you're going to do it your way. I wouldn't want you to do it my way. I wouldn't want you to do it anyone else's way because the world needs you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. The world needs me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. And I needed to hear that today, right? Sometimes you think, God, what the hell's the point? And then you show up and you do the work and you're like, well, I guess that's the point. I guess that's the point. Dawn, you said I get very short phrases and tons of sensations, but I don't know what the sensations are. How do I learn what they mean? Well, I would really keep a journal and ask. So, how you may not need to, one, you might not need to know what they mean. You just might need to know what the experience is and to learn to trust the experience. So, be curious and write. Because one of the things that I started back when I was in massage school, so 1992, 93, I was in Boulder, Colorado, and I was in massage school for a year. It's a massage program. It was amazing. Boulder School of Massage Therapy. I was in the mecca of healing and all that. It was amazing, right? And here I was, and we have to be touched every single day, whether we like it or not, or whether we like who's touching us, because not all massage therapists are created equal, right? So one of the things that the school did is they partnered with the Naropa Institute, which is the only Buddhist college in the United States. Um, and we had counselors, therapists who partnered with us. So I had a counselor the whole time I was there, and she happened to be a Jungian psychologist, just beautiful. Oh, I'm just having waves of memory of working with her. And one of the things is what the issues are in the tissues. As we're being touched, as our physical body is being touched, we, things rise up in us, memories, emotions, things that were stagnant get loose. And so I needed to have somebody to talk with, somebody that I could process with, right? And so one of the practices she had me do is dream journaling. And I will tell you that you can do this with your experiences. What are the phrases that you're getting? Ask who's speaking to you. Um, and write down, describe the sensations you're having. Is it a tingling in your elbow? Is it blue? Is it green? Just allow yourself to be curious and jot this down. And just every time you have that, just allow yourself to explore and see what the meaning is. You can start to go to dreammoods.com and look up symbolism. You can look up what do elbows mean, or look up Louise Hay. There are layers of ways that we receive information and layers of opportunities for us to reach out and go, ooh, that really resonates with me. Maybe I'm going to study up with Louise Hay's work and go, oh, the body is how I receive information with spirit, how I connect with others, how my gift shows up. Ooh, that's how I am learning and I feel it in my body. Absolutely. Start to be curious instead of needing to know, right? Let your curiosity guide your learning, and in the learning you will continually be led to more. The way I look at it, the way my experience has been, the more curious I am, the more information that I open up to and I'm willing to look at, the more doors open up to me. There is not a day that I am not receiving inspiration, affirmation, confirmation of who I am, what I'm here to do, even when I don't want to. Even today, I was telling my husband, I said, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. What am I supposed to do? Seriously, I'm being completely candid with you all. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. What's the purpose of this anyway? Is it just all like bullshit? Anybody have that, right? We have that. We have those moments like, is this selfish? Should I be doing something more meaningful? And I'm like, I need to go for a walk. And I got my tennis shoes on and I went, and on my way to go get my sweatshirt, um, it was like, just speak. Just be willing to speak. And that's what it is. It's like, I just need to speak. That's what I needed to hear today. And what am I doing? I'm speaking. So, am I willing to do what I say I'm going to do, to show up and do this, crying, feeling like I'm not 100%? How many times did I show up at events with 40, 50 people, not certain that I was even legit because my doubt was playing a role in what was getting my attention. The only way through that was to show up and do it anyway, and to face the music if they didn't show up and say, sorry, everybody's getting a refund. That's the worst that would happen. That's the worst that would happen. That's the worst that would happen. So I can't I can't not be me, and you can't not be you. So be you, be bold, be brilliant. And if you need support, if you need to talk it out, if you need more information, I'm here. That's what I do. That's what I do. And that's what I love to do. And I just really want to thank all of you for showing up today. Didn't expect this, but we show up, we do it anyway. And know that you're going to stumble and you're going to feel awkward and you're going to not do it right, but you'll learn. You'll learn. You'll have the Velveeta and the screen moment for yourself. I hope you all have just a brilliant day. This was good. If you have more questions, let me know. I am going to be doing more of these. And so let me know what you want to learn about. If you're not a member of the Soulwise Circle, I really, really strongly encourage you to join. It's free. We do a meditation every Monday. I would love to have you be part of it. Um, and if you are on my YouTube channel and you have questions, I'll be checking that out. It doesn't feed over here, which is disappointing, but I will be working to look for vehicles that help me do that better. But I'll be sharing more. But if there's something you want to hear about, something more you want to know about, if you want to know about the Ascended Masters, if you want to know about the how, if you want to know whatever you want to know about, I'm glad to help support. And I love and honor each of you as you are, as your beautiful divine selves who are emerging and growing and expanding, just like me. So I hope you have a blessed day. Thank you so much.